Chapter 8 Back to the Beginning. A grand city can be seen that is not of Protestant design. Most of the buildings in the city are made of a base of sand and clay that has been whitewashed to give them a stark white appearance. They are supported by timber frames and have wooden plank roofs. The more magnificent buildings are made entirely of stone. Most of the roads running through the city are unpaved dirt. A lot of activity is going on near a tournament ground. Many people sit in the stands of the stadium, anticipating the action that will soon take place in the field below them. The people have lighter skin than the Protestants. All of them have spiky hair that is some shade of green, and wear green robes combined with various colors. Most people wear white or brown in addition to green. Some wear blue, a few wear red, and a clearly high-status family in their own private box wear purple with their green. Near the tournament field are tents where the participants prepare for the fights ahead. Inside one of the tents are two men. Both of them appear to be in their late teens, have forest green hair, and orange eyes. One of the men has a stubbly beard and hair that spikes downward and to the left and right of his head, while the other is clean-shaven and has hair that spikes upward to the right and downward to the left. The bearded man wears a sleeveless blue outer robe over a long-sleeve green underrobe. The beardless man wears a green robe with white accents. Bearded man's perspective. Like all sorcelings, I had some skill with sorcery, a word we derived from source to refer to the magical power it gave us. But even among sorcelings, some of us are better at it than others. I'm one of those that had a harder time learning it, so I compensated by learning more physical skills, and I became quite skilled in combat with a warhammer. I got so good at it that I was actually invited to participate in a tournament that would really test my skills. I was getting ready when my brother, Alum, came to wish me luck. "You know," Alum said, "I hear Neri, the daughter of the guardian of the source, will be watching. She's 16, right? She's the perfect age for you, you know." The descendants of the one who originally discovered the source have guarded it for countless generations and took the title of guardian. Since the source is the origin of our magical power, the family that guards it is highly respected and holds much political sway. "Really?" I said hopefully. "Do you think I might have a chance with her?" "Honestly," Alum said, "no, not a chance in hell." He chuckled and then went on to say, "But still, it must be something else knowing you'll have her undivided attention during your fights." There was a short pause, and then he said, "Anyway, I think the tournament is about to start. I wouldn't want to make you late for your own match. Good luck out there, Delwyn." "Thanks, brother," I said. The fights were tough, but I had been training for this day my whole life. Opponent after opponent fell before me, and I eventually came out on top and won the tournament. I was filled with glory as the crowd cheered my victories. But little did I know the best was yet to come. As I was leaving the tournament field after everything was over, I heard a voice say, "Hello there, champion." I turned around and saw a young woman behind me. She had red eyes and emerald hair that spiked down to cover most of the right side of her face, but was cut up in a diagonal line that peaked above her left eye. She wore a purple long-sleeve outer robe that was left open so her green underrobe could be seen underneath. It was Neri, the daughter of the Guardian! "That was quite a display out there," she said. I was so overcome that I struggled to speak. But finally I spat out, "Oh, well, that's just the result of years of vigorous training." "Strong," Neri said, "and modest, too. You're not like those stuck-up suitors my parents pick out for me. You're everything I've ever wanted in a man." Wow, that was forward, but I wasn't complaining. I couldn't believe it. I was really courting the daughter of the Guardian. Her parents did object at first to her being in love with a commoner, but eventually they got used to me, and being a champion certainly helped. After some time, we got married and had 2 children. We named them Zolan and Zara. Elam also married the love of his life, Elissa, and the 2 of them had a child of their own that they named Viteria. Even though we were royalty and they were commoners, our 2 families were quite close. Viteria was almost like another sibling to Zolan and Zara. But as time passed on, Neri seemed more and more unhappy. I often saw her gazing into the magic mirror in our manor house and using its magic to show her images of distant lands. One time, I oversaw her watching what looked like a really dramatic scene. A black-haired woman in a white dress was crying miserably. A man in a dark tunic knelt down beside her and said, "Hela, no matter what happens, I'll always be here for you. Maybe we could adopt children if we can't have any of our own." "Why do you want to see these things?" I asked Neri as she gazed into the magic mirror. "To give me a glimpse of experiences I will never get to experience," she said, "and accomplishments I will never get to accomplish." I didn't understand. It seemed to me that Neri had a fairly fulfilling life. Why would she be so unhappy? No perspective. 2 children, a boy and a girl, wander the halls of the manor house. The walls and floor are made of stone, and slits in the wall serve as windows. The boy has red eyes, forest green hair that spikes to the right, and wears a purple vest over a green robe. The girl has orange eyes, sea green hair that spikes back and down, and wears a long-sleeve brown jacket over a green underrobe. Viteria's perspective. Me and Zolan were on one of our play adventures. As usual, we were searching the manor for treasure. That's what we were pretending to do, anyway. Actually, we were trying to sneak into the pantry so we could raid it for some goodies. The real trick was sneaking by Uncle Dewin. If he caught us, we'd get in trouble, but I had finally come up with a really clever way to keep him off our backs. "Are you sure Father won't catch us?" Zolan asked. "Yep," I said. "I got some leaves from a plant that causes sleepiness and crushed them into his wine. He's probably fast asleep by now." I laughed maniacally. I was so proud of myself. Then, Zolan's annoying little sister Zara ran up and said, "Hey, are you guys having fun? Can I join in?" Sorry," I said. "Big kids only." "Oh, but I'm big," Zara insisted. "See?" She squinted her eyes, clenched her fists, and made a grunting sound. "What are you doing, Zara?" Zolan asked. "Using magic to make myself big," Zara said. "That's not how sorcery works, Zara," I said. Then, there was the distinct sound of wind breaking. Zara's eyes shot open and she looked embarrassed at first, but then she started laughing hysterically. She laughed so hard she fell down to the floor and started rolling around. "Ugh, and she wonders why we don't want to hang out with her," Zolan whispered to me. We left Zara behind and made our way to the pantry. There it was, completely unguarded. All the goodies we could eat! We made ourselves right at home. "Now that's what I call an adventure," I mumbled with a mouthful of cookie. It was about that time that Dad and Uncle Dewin walked in. No perspective. Alan looks pretty much the same way as he did before, but Dewin now has a full beard and wears a purple overrobe instead of a blue one. Viteria's perspective. "I knew we'd find you in here," Dad said. "We're going home now, Viteria. It's getting late, and I think there are some chores you need to do." "But, Daddy!" I protested. "No buts," Dad said. "You can cause more mischief with your cousins some other time." So I went on home. As I left the pantry, I could hear Uncle Dewin telling Zolan, "Don't you have some chores you need to be doing too?" Dewin's perspective. After the kids had left, I decided I needed to have a serious discussion with Alam. I told him what had been going on with Neri and asked him if he had any advice. "Dewin," Alam said, You're the one that got to live every common man's dream and marry the princess. Try to see things from Neri's perspective. Her ancestors are all great heroes of our people, and she has a great legacy to live up to. But things in Sorcia have been running pretty smoothly ever since we fled the mainland and set up here on our island. Neri hasn't had the chance to make any great changes or accomplish any great things the way her ancestors did. I thought about what Alum said, but I didn't know what on earth I could do about it. A little while after that, it was time for one of Neri's regular meetings with the council. The council was made up of 4 people, 5 if you include the guardian of the source, the head of the council, who each represented a particular shire in Sorcia, and it was their job to work together with the guardian to solve political matters. As a common-born, I held no real sway in these meetings, but as the husband of the guardian, I still listened in on their discussions. During the meeting, Neri proposed letting the existence of our people be known to the outside world again. A heated debate erupted. Neri argued that it had been almost 100 years since all the people of the world had turned against us and tried to steal the source, and maybe it was time to give them another chance. Virtually the entire council was in opposition to her, arguing that those barbarians could not be trusted, and only we sourcelings knew how to use the source responsibly. Finally, Neri turned to me and pleaded, "Please, help me out here. This is my chance to finally make a difference, enact great change, and leave behind some kind of legacy. I cannot meet my ancestors knowing I did nothing worth doing in my lifetime. They would be so ashamed of me." "What do you want me to do?" I asked. "I don't hold any more influence with these people than you do. Besides, I think what you're proposing is a very reckless and dangerous idea. We cut ourselves off from the world for a reason. Would you put our whole people in danger just to fulfill your selfish desires?" "I'm selfish?" Neri said without any emotion in her voice. She turned back toward the council and just stared blankly ahead, almost like she was in a trance. Vitaria's perspective. Zolin had told me to sneak out after our bedtime and meet him near a waterfall just outside the city. He said he had something really cool to show me. I knew we'd be in big trouble if we got caught, but a childish young me just loved getting into trouble. "It may look like an ordinary waterfall," Zolin said, "but look at this." He grabbed my arm and pulled me through the waterfall to a secret cave on the other side. "Wow, cool," I said in awe. I can only imagine what our parents would do if they knew what we were up to. "Actually," Zolin said, "it was my parents that showed me this place to begin with. It's a secret path to get to the basement of our house. I don't know who, if anyone else, knows about it." We went through the cave until we came to what seemed like a dead end. A big boulder blocked our path ahead. "On the other side of this rock," Zolin said, "is the basement of our house. Do you want to help me move it?" We used our magic to move the big rock out of the way. The basement of their house was mostly just a vast, empty space. The only object in the room was a ball of glowing green light in the center. Suddenly, we heard the footsteps of someone coming. They sounded like they were really in a hurry. Me and Zolin raced out of there and put the rock back in place, hoping it wasn't really noticeable that we had messed with it to begin with. Dewin's perspective. I lay restlessly in bed. Neri had never come to bed, and I was starting to get worried, especially after what happened earlier that day. Then, I started hearing what sounded like fireworks going on outside. I went out to see what was going on. I just followed the sounds of the commotion. Finally, I saw it. Alam and Elissa lay dead, and Neri was standing over them. She had the source in her hands.